Are you struggling with your posture? This 20-minute yoga practice is designed to help improve alignment and your posture through a series of stretches and strengthening exercises. This class aims to help you stand taller and to feel more confident. I'm Hannah and welcome to your mat. For today's practice, it might be useful to have 2 blocks just placed ready and available at the top of your mat. Let's begin in child's pose. I enjoy opening the knees. You might choose to keep yours closer together. Don't worry if the hips are not perfectly touching those heels behind you. Just see if you can, with each exhalation here, feel the weight of your hips dropping back, perhaps just a millimeter at a time with each exhalation. You choose where you would like to bring the arms. You might have them reaching out in front of you, or as myself, gently balance the forehead on the back of the hands. Feel a sense of openness and fullness as you inhale. And feel a sense of grounding as you exhale. You might also like to just gently whisper to yourself a message of love, maybe a simple, I am here. Just a moment to acknowledge the energy and the effort to turn up onto your mat and be here today. When you feel ready, let's open up into our first downward facing dog. Planting those hands, spreading the fingers, and maybe choosing to pedal out a little bit through those toes, those legs, those ankles moving. And then when you find your next exhalation, settling back, pausing for another round of breath. I'm going to start to bend the knees and bring the belly as close as I can towards the thighs. Tuck the chin in towards the chest and then begin to round through the back body, like you're turning your body into a scared cat, but you've got the knees off the earth. And then roll your way forwards into a plank pose. You could always drop the knees there. Otherwise, see if you can pause here for at least another round of breath with me. Feeling into all those stabilizing core muscles activating here. And then start to bend the knees, draw the hips towards the heels, tuck the chin in, and again round the back body, bringing the belly towards the thighs, and then lift the hips and drop the heels, coming into your variation of downward facing dog. We'll do that again. Bend through the knees, bring the heels right up off the earth, bring the belly as close as you can to the thighs, chin towards the chest, and begin to roll and round through the back body as you roll your way forwards through to a high plank pose. If you need to, drop the knees. Otherwise, can you hold it out for an extra breath here? Feeling into the lats having to switch on, your shoulders, your arm strength, leg strength activating. Let's go ahead and roll our way back all the way through until you find your way into downward facing dog once again. We'll be doing that one more time. If you need a little breather, drop the knees to the earth first. Or once you hit your plank pose, I'm going to roll forwards. Maybe you're already there. Feel free to drop the knees. See if you can pause for another breath. And for one more breath, you've got this. And then melt the knees towards the earth And then I'm going to invite you to actually lead with your belly button and take what I refer to as a naughty chaturanga, rolling down through the spine. So I'm going to move my block slightly out of the way here. And just take a little pause and a breather. Once you've found your way flat onto your belly, I invite you to bring your arms back behind you. And if you can you lay your palms to face down beside the hips? So thumbs are facing out, little fingers are in. Keep your palms gently pressing into the earth and see if you can start to lift your chest and roll the shoulders back. A variation of locust pose here. Again, we're having to use activation of core here. Try to avoid over squeezing through the glutes, but there might be a little activation to help us stabilize. Could you lift the heart just a fraction more, rolling shoulders back even more? Last breath. And then soften down. You could choose to turn your head one direction. Maybe you're even bringing your hands like a little pillow for support. Breathe. We'll do another variation of locust. Perhaps this time you'll also hover the legs off the earth. Perhaps you'll go ahead and take hold of a grip of your fingers behind your lower back. See if you can, if you are hovering the legs off the earth, avoid the legs widening. We want to keep those legs glued close as can be together. So I'm going to reach my arms back as we did in that first variation. Now I'm going to choose to bring my legs also close together. I'll start by lifting up through the chest, and then I want to squeeze even more through those legs and the glutes, lifting the feet, and perhaps reach the arms. If you feel like you can go there, go ahead and interlace the fingers, rolling the shoulders back. For 3, you might be in this variation or a different one. 2, and 1. Soften your way down. Perhaps you've turned your head in the opposite direction now. I'll invite you to push the hips back towards the heels when you're ready and settle for at least 1 round of breath into child's pose. When you feel ready, meeting in downward facing dog. From your downward dog, lift the right leg to the sky. Draw the knee in towards the face, tiger curl the body, round the back body. Lift the leg back up, inhale, 3-legged dog. Let's do that 2 more times. Knee towards the face, round the back body, exhale. You could do this with the left knee grounded. We're going for 1 more round. Knee towards the face. And come and meet, placing the right foot in between those hands. At that point, if you need them, and it can be a wonderful tool, even if you don't necessarily need longer arms, to just bring your hands onto those blocks. For me, it's just giving me a little extra length, something that feels good in my body today. So pausing with the left knee, the back knee drop towards the earth, and lifting up through the heart. You could have your hands on top of your right thigh, or perhaps you have fingertips touching the earth, framing that right foot. But at the moment, I'm just kind of letting things sink here with the hips. You could have back toes tucked or untucked. If you need a little extra support under that left knee, double up the mat here. And then we're going to push the hips a little back and forth with the rhythm of breath. So working out what feels right for you. Could be an inhale, could be an exhale. As you start to straighten through the front leg, pushing the hips back, bowing the heart forwards, and then rebend through the front leg. So once you've done that, maybe 1 round, you'll start to work with a rhythm of breath that feels right for you. A little suggestion that might feel more appropriate if you do need a little more guidance with breath is exhaling to bow, because the belly will tuck in, giving a little more room to bow, and an inhale to draw the hips down and forwards, heart lifting, because there's a little more room between belly and thigh there. So at this point, you might still choose to keep those hands on blocks, but come and meet me with the front leg bent. Begin to tuck the back toes and hover the knee, and then see if you can really power up through the back leg here. So I want to feel really strong and stable here through that back leg in particular. And I'm trying to avoid all of my weight just collapsing onto my front thigh. I want to check back in with the hips. Notice if one hip is dragging further forwards than the other. And finally, draw your feet towards the center line to really activate leg muscles here. Last breath, feeling active and strong. And then you can keep your hands on your blocks as you walk your hands towards the left side of that front foot. Pivot the toes to face the long left side of the mat. Bring the hands towards center. We're into a straddle. So just check in with your feet. Either have your outer edge of the blade of the foot parallel, aligned with the front and the back edge of the mat, or slightly turn toes inwards. Try to avoid toes turning out. Take a moment with your hands on your blocks just to lengthen through the spine, lengthen through the legs. Perhaps there is room to drop down onto forearms. Perhaps there's room to remove the blocks. I'm just going to bring my blocks towards the front edge of my mat. I might go ahead and use those in a moment. Some of you might drop down forearms towards the earth, and then see if you can shift the weight into your toes rather than your heels. It's not that you're lifting the heels off the earth, but see if you can stay forwards and grip the earth with your toes here. Let your head dangle and try to relax through your neck here. So there is some strength happening through core just a little bit to keep yourself low. And there is some strength happening through your legs. But we're seeing if we can actually relax through the shoulders. Some of you might feel like you could bring the hands behind you and either you take hold of the inside of your wrists or elbows, or if it's simple enough to get there, interlace the fingers and then allow those hands to tumble over your back and forwards. We'll stay for about 3 more breaths, so try not to move quickly, but just seeing if you can feel a sense of release through the neck, a sense of opening through the spine. And then we'll bring the hands back towards the hips slowly if they're dangling over the head. Lowering the hands towards the earth. I'm going to pivot my toes towards the back edge of the mat. Bringing the back heel up and then dropping the back knee. That's the right leg here. So it could be that you've got your blocks to hand. I'm going to grab them either side of my left foot. And for now, just allowing my hips to gently drop down and forwards. Don't worry if the left knee is tracking forwards of the left heel, that's okay. Just try to avoid the left knee sort of swinging in or outwards to the side too violently. There might be a moment where you take a bit of a wiggle through the hips, just noticing whatever it is that you notice here. Seeing if we can release a little through hip flexors, part of the body that gets incredibly tight and changes our posture. And then we'll be bringing the hips back and forth here as we bow over that front leg and bend it. So you might have the hands on those blocks as you go back and forth. Initially, don't overthink the breath. You'll sort of find that it'll work quite naturally. But then, see if you can lead your movement from your breath. So in yoga, the breath is really, really vital. And actually, if at all possible, breath is key and number one. The movement will always follow that breath, not the other way around. But sometimes to be able to sort of get connected to the breath, for some of us, we have to think in the opposite way. Just move and then come back to the breath and notice what's happening. And then see if we can start to become more attuned with our own rhythm of breath and how that can be a wonderful tempo for our movement. Rebend the front leg, come and meet me there. Tuck the back toes, hover the knee. So we're going to be really strong here through the back leg. We try to avoid all our weight dumping down into that left thigh. So it could be that you've got no blocks, maybe you've got hands on that thigh, but try to avoid all the work being in your hands. See if you can use some strength in your upper body, your core. Check in with the hips as one hip dragging forwards further than the other. Super strong through the back leg, so I'm firing up those quads in the back thigh. And then maybe you're bringing the blocks with you. You're going to pivot the toes again to the side long edge of the mat. And we're going to the same side here. So we'll ultimately end up facing the front. So I'm actually going to bring my blocks now out of the way. And it could be that you have your hands on at least one block, but start to walk your hands towards, let's actually go towards the back edge of the mat. So let's walk towards your left foot and see if you can bring your hands quite close towards the foot on the ground, or if you can't, maybe you're having to hold onto the shin here. But see if you can draw your right shoulder down towards the earth, and then see if you can open your heart towards the left side, opening your heart towards that back leg. Some of you will reach the hand towards the earth or towards the outer edge of your right hand to your left ankle, and maybe left hand towards the hip. Perhaps you'll even turn the gaze upwards. Turning yourself into a twist here. One more breath. And then we'll look down and we'll sweep the hands to the front edge towards that front foot. And again, you're trying to explore where can your hands go. Maybe you're holding onto the shin. Try to avoid shifting all the weight into your heels. See if you can stay tilting forwards so that you're having to grip the earth with your toes, and seeing what you can do with a twist on the second side. You do not have to turn the gaze up. Just go with your neck where it feels long and comfortable, and the ability to breathe freely. And then we're going to lower the hands, but pivot the toes towards that front edge of the mat. Step back to downward facing dog. Go ahead and exaggerate that ripple forwards to high plank. So I've bent the knees, lifted the heels. We ripple forwards through to high plank. This time, could you lower between the elbows with a strong straight line through crown of head to heel, chaturanga. You can always drop the knees to the earth. From here, bring the forearms to the earth. You could interlace fingers. You could have palms facing up, just whatever is comfortable for your wrists, for your elbows and your shoulders here. We're going to hang in Sphinx pose for about a minute. Check in with the legs. You can be really relaxed here through the feet. You do not have to have the feet together. In fact, keep them a good hip width apart. If you're finding that this is pinching in any way, you'll want to have the elbows wider or slightly further forward so that you drop down a little bit lower. And last couple of breaths here. And gently lower your way all the way to the earth. I invite you at this point to simply turn onto your back. Gently begin to draw the knees in towards the body. Give yourself a hug, a squeeze. You could lift the forehead up and into the knees. And then let the head rest down. I invite you to drop the knees down towards the right side. And as you do that, if you want to change the shape of the legs in any way, you might choose to stag the legs. Maybe you choose to bind the legs, but we're going to settle here for at least 3 slow and steady rounds of breath before we move to the second side. Whenever you're ready, just drawing through center and changing it to the second side. And once again, drawing your way back through center as we set ourselves up for Savasana.
Thank you for watching this video, and I hope you enjoyed it. Please don't forget to like it below, subscribe to my channel, and hit the bell icon. Not only will this keep you up to date with my offerings, but will keep content like Tula being free and accessible to all.